Good morning, stampers and crafters. Welcome to Technique Tuesday. I believe this is episode 27. Wow, that's a lot of techniques so far. I still, just to be honest with you, I haven't even scratched the surface of how many I have. And of course, today's technique isn't one that I had in my repertoire. It's a new one I learned, and I was on the internet and I was trying to find if somebody had done a tutorial on it. And they hadn't. So I thought, well, I guess I better do that. So today's technique is called corrugated cardboard. That's about all I can think of calling it. So if you're like me, you have Stampin' Up! Boxes or you have cardboard boxes everywhere. And I thought, well, why not try to incorporate that into a card somehow? Now, I have seen some corrugated cardboard cards on the internet, but no tutorials. So I figured out some tricks, and I want to show you those today. So I made 3 cards while I was learning this. I made this one, and the stamp sets we'll be using today, I will show you, they are part of the new mini catalog and celebrations that starts in January. You guys are going to be in love. These catalogs are amazing. And if you want to know how you can order now before the general public, get a hold of me. It is one of our many awesome perks of being a demonstrator. Not only do we get to get a discount, but we get to pre-order, and we get some really good perks with that. So as part of the pre-order, I've got a lot of the new sets. This card here is showing the corrugated cardboard in the back. And the stamp set that was used on this one is called Honeybee. And it's in the new mini catalog. And it's got these adorable little bees and a beehive and a matching die set. Look at this, honeycombs. I'm so excited. I have a girlfriend that I ride motorcycles with that raises bees and honey. And so I was real excited to get this set. Hopefully she's not watching this video because I'm going to be sending her cards with honeybees on it. But isn't this adorable? Look at these cute little bees and the little beehive. So this one is called Honeybee. And that is what I used on this one. And I just die cut the bee and some copper, did some little copper flowers. As you see, it has this little flourish, which I did there. And in hindsight, I think if I make this again, I will, instead of this, I used Mossy Meadow here. I think I would use Old Olive, something just a little bit brighter to bring out above the rustic look of the cardboard. So that's the set I used for that one. And our second card, I'm going to show you how I did this. I took the cardboard, partially peeled it, and gave it this vintage look. And I'm going to show you how I did that. And then just simply stamped my image on it and added a greeting. This set is another set in the new mini, and it's called Forever Blossoms. It's stunning, and look at all the dies that come with it in the bundle. Look at all these flower dies. We're going to be using these flower dies. I'm going to show you that on the next card. And we're going to make it. We are going to make this card. Look how simple cardboard can be to just add a fun, different background. You know me, I like unique. And this is definitely right up in the unique category. So we'll be making this card today. It's got an embossing folder back here, which is also part of the celebrations. One of the bundles in celebrations, it is, where did I put it? It's a really cool bundle. I will find it. Oh, here it is. it is called, and you earn this free. You earn the set of this really cool embossing folder that it looks like stone. I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's a nice 3D stone looking background, and it comes with this stamp set called the Power of Hope. Love the sayings in this, and you can earn these two items free with a qualifying order in celebrations starting in January. So let's jump in. I'll quit jabbering, but I'm so excited about. I love celebrations time. When you can earn free things, it's time to celebrate. So we're going to set this one aside, and this one you will see how to do as we go along, and I show you how to do these two backgrounds. Now I want to start with this one because we can be working on this other one while our paint dries. Now all you need is a piece of cardboard. Okay, this is straight off one of my Stampin' Up boxes. And on this particular one, I want to leave part of it still on there. And then I'm going to give it this vintage look. So all you do, your easiest thing is if you have a small stylus or a small pair of tweezers, you see the little holes here? All you're going to be doing is popping up that top layer and just peeling. And since I kind of want a little bit of it here, I'm just going to grab it and peel. Okay, I use my stylus because I can go right underneath into that corrugated area and pop up that top layer. Now I'm going to show you another way to do this. But on this particular one, since I'm not removing all of it, the other method of removing this isn't going to work. And I'll show you that in just a minute. So let's peel some of this off here. Let's come from the other side and just stick your stylus right up underneath there and pop it up. And then you just peel it. And there's no real, I mean, you want it kind of rustic looking, so it doesn't have to be perfect by any means. Just take your stylus and peel off different areas. And you can leave the little frayed pieces. It just adds character. I mean, who'd ever thought using a cardboard box? But then again, whoever thought of using dryer sheets? Okay, we use a lot of things when we're stamping. So you might as well make use of them. So I think I'm going to, let's take just a little bit more off of this. Just going to go in this little area right here. Peel some of it off here. Okay, now to get this vintage look, it's very simple. What we need is, all you need is some acrylic paint. Okay, you can get these little bottles of acrylic paint at the craft store. Oh, I've had these years. I'm gonna say max $4 maybe, and if you have a coupon, even cheaper. So what I want to do is I'm going to, this particular craft acrylic paint is a vanilla color. You could use white because we're going to be antiquing this, as I call it. So, but I'm just going to use some very vanilla, and I'm just going to bring in a piece of sticky note here to protect my craft space. I think I want to peel just a little bit more off of this. Let me get one more little area here. There we go. I just want to have enough room for some of the vintage to really show through. Okay, clean up our mess here. So now I'm just going to take a little bit of my acrylic paint and put it on my, probably about the size of a quarter is probably all you need. This piece of paper is approximately, I made it so it would mat on here. So I'm going to say this is probably about 3 3/4 by 5 maybe. So just so I can mat it. And then I'm just going to bring in just a standard little brush here. I'm going to put some, since I'm going to be doing more projects here, I want to put a little piece of non-stick underneath here. Just to protect my workspace since I'm going to be doing more projects. So I'm just going to take my vanilla paint, and this doesn't take long to dry. So while this is drying, we'll work on another, show you how to, different ways to remove the coating off of your cardboard. Got a little piece of, look, I got paint all over me and I haven't even started yet. That's how I roll. And a little bit goes a really long way here. And it doesn't have to be perfect because you want a more kind of rustic, vintage look. So we're just gonna put some on there. Okay, so we've got our little, like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. And this only, as you can see, it's already drying. So it really doesn't take long for this little acrylic paint to dry. But we're going to set it aside, let it dry. And I'm going to show you another way to remove the coating off of your, and I'm going to wrap this in a baby wipe until I can take it to the sink and rinse it off. It'll clean with water. But if you are pausing, you know, like you're not going to be able to take it right to a sink to clean it, just wrap it in something damp and it'll keep that paint from drying on your brush. Just another little tips and trick there. So I'm going to set this aside to dry, and then we will come back and I will show you how to antique it. So now another way, on this particular card, all I did is peel it the same way we just did, but I peeled the whole piece. Okay. Now, if you want a piece, if you see this, the ribs on this are all nice and neat and uniform. Now this one, this gives you a little bit more of a kind of a crushed or, you know, more texture to it. And to get this, and that is what I did on the little B card, was you take a little pan of water, and I'm just going to use a little sample piece of cardboard, and you just drop it on top of your water. You could do this in the sink or in a little bin like this, and you're just going to let it absorb some of the water there. And I'm going to bring this back in so I don't get water all over my workspace where we're going to be working. And while that's soaking, and it only has to just soak a couple of minutes. You can pull it up and see how it looks. Let's give it a couple more seconds. And then just tap it off. And then you'll see that this will peel right off there. See that? See, it just comes right off. Okay? and then you can just set that aside and let it dry. You can hit it with your heat tool, but sometimes when you do it this way, if your piece is bigger, it may do this, okay, where it collapses just a little bit. So it's whatever you kind of prefer, but that just made really short work of clearing that corrugated. So we'll just set that aside and let it dry and use it on a project. So I'm going to move this water out of the way because I'm surely going to spill it. So that's another way to remove the top off of your cardboard. Okay. Now the next one, I want this one to not, I mean, I could probably do it the same way and just hope it doesn't crush. I don't think, let's do that. Let's make short work of it. And I'm going to drop that in there. Now this piece is, let's see if we can get a size for you. I just went a little bit smaller than my embossed piece. Now this piece I embossed with that stone, and I used one of my rectangle die cuts. I always do that because it just makes short work of giving me a little, you know, the stitch still shows just a little bit. So I've got that, and I've got my card base. And we are going to put our small piece in here. Let it soak for a second. So for this card, we used the little flower dies in our cherry blossom dies, and we cut them out in Daffodil Delight yellow. Okay. And what you do with those, it also has these tiny little, I don't know what they call those on a flower. I just lost the name of it. But they give you that too. Okay, you've even got those. And let's check our piece here. I don't want it too terribly soggy. And let's see if we can peel that off. Needs a couple more seconds, so I'm going to let that sit in there. And while that's doing that, we're going to bring in our foam mat and some of our flowers. And what I do with my flowers, these are cut out in Daffodil Delight. And I'm going to sponge the edges of them in Daffodil Delight. It just gives you a little bit of dimension to your flowers. So just take your dauber, go along the edges a little. Okay, let's check our cardboard piece where, oh, might have got it too wet. Let's see. Now I'm just going to bring in my stylus, go up underneath here. And just kind of peel it off. I might leave some character in this one. That's a tough little cardboard box. I just think it's such a neat little texture. What an idea, huh? I saw this somewhere on the internet. I know I did. I must have. And I couldn't find a tutorial. So, you know, there may be some other ways to accomplish this, but this is what worked for me. So, as always, there may be other ways to do things. I'm merely showing you how I learn them or how I do them. Doesn't always make them right, but they work. And I share them with you. Okay, so we're going to set this aside, let it dry. I'm going to get a few of these little tiny pieces off here. Kind of a messy little deal, isn't it? Most of my techniques are kind of messy, aren't they? But they're fun. You have fun. I showed this card to my husband, and he was like, really? You used a cardboard box? And we have so many cardboard boxes. The adult ice cream truck, my FedEx guy, pretty much here almost every other day, it seems. It's not Stampin' Up, it's Amazon. Alright, so I'm going to set that aside, let it dry. Let's move our water. And while that's drying, we're going to work on our flowers. So we sponged the edge of our flowers in the same color, the Daffodil Delight. And I don't know if you can see it in this die cut, but it even has little, it's a embossed die cut. So it has little ridges in the flowers. Such detail. I just love it. So I've already done a few of these, so I only need about 3. So we're going to put together 3 of them. Now take our little centerpieces, and I usually just use glue. You know me, just kind of like to use a little glue here. Glue them on your flower. Okay, so the center on this one. And oops, it stuck to me, not my flower. There we go. There we go. Let's add our last one on here. And we're going to add just a little more texture to these. And I'll show you a quick, easy way to do that. Okay, we've got our 3 little flowers. Now, you can do this with a stylus, or I found another quick, easy way. You take your pick tool, you've got your lid on, and a foam mat below you. Just press right in the center. Press right in the center of your flowers. And it gives them a little curvature. And see how they just adds a little curvature to them. And that just kind of pops up a little on your card. And you do it even with these little ones. Just push down on your foam pad, and then you have a little curved flower. Okay, so now we're still waiting for this one to dry. I may have to hit it with the heat tool. Let's go back to our other one, see if it's dry. There we go, look at that. Our acrylic paint is already dry. So now we want to add some vintage to this. So what I did is I brought in my early espresso, and we still have our Daffodil Delight. So let's open these up. So I'm going to take this early espresso, and I'm going to go along the edges of my paper. Just kind of a quick way to darken the edges. And you can even go over the corrugation just a little bit with your pad. Okay. And then take your sponge dauber, and right on where you've torn it, just kind of highlight right there. Go over your, so right where that torn edge is, we're kind of just adding a little bit of highlight. And vintage, there's really no, I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect because it's kind of aged and old. And then just to add a little bit of accent to go with my flowers, I took my Daffodil Delight dauber and just kind of went in my corrugated areas a little bit. Now, if it smashes, it's okay because it's just texture. We're just going to add a little bit of yellow highlights to this. And there you go. You have your vintage piece. How fun is that? And then you can just put this in your Stamparatus, pick the image you want to stamp, just stamp it and color it with your Stampin' Blends or your markers. So you would just stamp on it like normal. So look, you have this really pretty vintage piece already. There you go. That's how we did that one. And we will set that aside. So now what I'm going to do, close these up. And we're still waiting for our little piece of cardboard to dry there. When I did this one, I didn't use the water. I just peeled it. So this one is still a little bit wet. Let's see if we can hit it with our heat tool a little bit. Dry it. I should have made one prior to the video that we could use, but I didn't, so here we are. When you're heating it, kind of push it down as you go, because it will, because only part of it's wet, so just kind of keeps it flat. Doesn't take long to dry. Depends on how wet you get it, obviously. There we go, we about got it. There we go. So, as you can see, when you wet it, it does change the texture a little bit, where it'll, kind of wrinkle your corrugation. See it there? So it's kind of whatever look you're going for. Now this one that we did the card, as you see, it's not wrinkled right there. I just peeled it and cleaned it normally. It's not going to matter. It's whatever you like and whatever's easiest. So what we're going to do, and this is all from the die set, we're going to take our little leaf here. See, it comes with the little stem. And you'll see how quickly this goes together. Bring in my glue. If you have two-sided adhesive, you could use it on these die cuts, but I'm just as quick with the glue as I am using my two-sided adhesive. So we're just going to put that there. And now we've got all of our little flowers we made, and we cut out a couple little leaf dies, and even these little leaf dies have embossing in them. They are so detailed. I'm really impressed. Really, really impressed. So let's bring in our flowers. And a couple leaves here. We have a couple small flowers here. And we'll just bring in our glue dots. And let's start putting our flowers on. We're just going to put a glue dot on the back of it. Just press your flower into the glue dot, pull it up, and your glue dot's on there. So let's put this one about right here. And we'll put this one, say, here. I'm going to add another glue dot to the back of that one. So just going to pick it up and put it on the back of that flower there. Hold it in place. All right, let's add a little flower. And we need a couple little leaves. Let's tuck a leaf under there. And maybe one of the small leaves. Oops. And let's put a small leaf about right there. A couple more flowers. I think I'm going to do a couple of glue dots on these flowers to make sure it catches one of the ribbed areas. And let's add a flower here. We'll add another one maybe over here. One more small one. Let's put our small one, let's tuck it under there a little bit. Put it about right there. Let's add another leaf or two. I think on the dies you get about, they have two different sizes of leaves here, and you get two per die cut. And as you see, they do have the embossing on them. Oh, there's 3 sets of leaves. Look at those tiny little ones they gave you. Wow. Okay, let's add another leaf. Let's tuck this one under here. There we go. And now for these little flowers that the center is cut out, let's just take some of our bling here, and I'm going to use these little green centers. Take your pick tool. Let's just put them right in the center of those. Okay, I'll have all the supplies listed below. So now I took from the, what do we call it? It is called the well-written dies. I took and cut out the friend and glued it to a piece of Whisper White. And now all we're going to do is just take a pair of scissors and we're just going to kind of make a background for this. It really doesn't take much to do. Just kind of go around it. I just think it adds a nice accent. have a little trouble with my hand doing this, but hopefully, beginning of the year, get the surgery I need. There we go. We have our greeting. I kind of like using, generic greetings like this on some of my cards, like friend or hello, because you can use them for any occasion, birthday, whatnot. You can put the inside in. So let's put this about right there. So we're going to bring in our card. I'm going to glue this directly down. I'm going to trim this a little bit right here. There we go. Let's bring in our glue. And you kind of want to make sure you go all the way to the edges with your adhesive tape or glue, because this could be a little bit warped if you did it with water. So let's put that on our embossed piece. And now our D, as you see, our D kind of goes off the edge here, which means there's a lip there. So let's add a little mini dimensional on that D, so it'll hold it up level across your card. Hope that made sense. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the rest of it. Take off my dimensional cap here. And let's just put it straight across there. Now I do glue all the way across because you've got those ribs, so you want to make sure that there's glue or an adhesive that's going to connect with those ribs. And then we'll just take our embossed piece and I'm just going to, you could pop it up if you wanted, but I think this card has enough dimension on its own with the cardboard, so you really don't want to take from that. So I would just glue it straight down, but then you have some texture, and look at that. See how fast that was, and what a fun little background. Look at that. Kind of looks like a tree, if you think about it. It kind of looks like the bark of a tree. So we've got that one, and then you've got your vintage. Here's your vintage. You could stamp, you could actually do this exact thing right across here, and it would be just as nice. Put your little greeting down here, and there you go. This one was the same vintage, and all I did is I took this piece and I matted it with early espresso, because remember, you sponge the edges with the espresso. So there you go. It kind of just draws it all together. So you could stamp on this, or you could build your flowers on this. You're really going to enjoy it when Celebrations comes out. There's so many new wonderful sets. And I hope you enjoyed today's technique, which I'm just going to call Corrugated Cardboard Background. I guess because it's kind of what it is. See, you just have, this one I embossed with copper to carry through to my copper flowers and my copper bee. And like I said, on this particular one, because of the darkness of the cardboard and that I did sponge a little bit of espresso, I would probably go with the old olive leaves on that one when I'm going to redo it. So there you go. There's a simple background. Using all those cardboard boxes, your wonderful Stampin' Up! Products are coming in. I hope you enjoyed today's technique, and I hope you have a happy Stampin' Day. Bye-bye now.